Is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No. Nope.
You.
Thank you.
For being such a bright sunshine.
I'm having a good day.
I'm liking the color theme today.
Yeah,
nice for real. It's giving AKA.
Little springy.
Yes. There we go.
Springy. I like it. All right. We actually wanted to start today with a topic that is at the center of the culture wars. That is transgender people and their rights. These are a few stories that we've been seeing that really highlight this issue we want to get to. So up first, this trans influencer, you might have seen this last night, named Nikita Dragon, was arrested at a Miami hotel for public nudity at the pool, despite being legally female. Nikita was placed in a men's jail, and even after asking the judge to have her moved, she was denied that right. Corrections officers also misgendered her on documents. Nikita fully identifies as a female, and her rep called the situation, quote, extremely disturbing and dangerous. She has now been released on bond. Meantime, a Kansas school district voted earlier this week for a new policy prohibiting trans students from using their preferred restrooms and playing on sports teams that correspond to their gender identity. Parents in the district applauded the new rules, but a lot of students feel very differently. So here's the question. Why are these transgender issues such a big deal to some people? And why has this become such a flashpoint in the culture wars? I wanted to get your take on all this, especially Nikita. What did you think, Linz, when you saw that?
I think that, we have laws in place and people are still trying to navigate, especially when we talk about leadership being like older people who haven't, let the new generation lead in a lot of these positions because they've been running in counties that make the decision on who's the judges and all these different things. And so people are not as forward thinking as maybe we are as television hosts or young people are, Gen Z is in the culture. And I think that conversations have to be had so that each side can really understand each other. Because it's not like there's a second side to deny somebody's experience. But I think that it's important to have that conversation so that it's not like this misunderstanding. I'm just not going to try to understand you. And, I'm still trying to figure out this issue and get people's pronouns right. And this is all new to our generation. But I had a conversation with a woman in a hair salon who had a daughter who transitioned to a son. And I was just like, as a mom, what was that experience like? Because I don't understand, right? And I was raised very traditionally where this wasn't even an option. We didn't talk about which bathroom we wanted to go to. We didn't talk about what, it wasn't even an option. And kids these days, all my friends that have kids that are at least 10 plus are having different dialogue. And so how do I, as the older person in the situation, come in and be understanding and kind of try to lose some of this judgmental thing that I thought was correct because it was a learned behavior and figure out how to have these conversations? And I think that everybody in leadership has to start to think about how to have those conversations because you can't just like get rid of a million people.
Speaking of that, and I want to ask that, they are. In Florida, for instance, the youth health care ban, they're now banning medical or surgical gender affirming care for transgender people under 18. A full ban. And I wonder if this is somewhat of a generational thing, Al, because to me, anyone under a certain age gets it and anyone above a certain age doesn't get it in certain ways. Does that make sense to you?
I mean, I guess, it's just like, Lindsay, you were saying, we're trying to figure out how to have the conversation, but I feel like we already have had the conversation. We actually had this exact conversation when we were talking about the invasion of gay people in the restroom.
Sure.
We had this conversation about rights when we interned Japanese Americans. We've continued to have this conversation in different forms. What it is when people are small in number, we get to decide what happens with their fate, what happens with their rights. I looked at that school board that was, deciding, and they were so proud of the decisions they had made about the sports team. I was like, I wonder, did you guys get around to school shootings? You guys figure out what you're going to do with that? We're talking about this because it's the only thing that people feel like they can control. It's the things that we can't control, like the economy, the fact that we're all working ourselves to death. Can't control any of that, so you have to give the people a carrot to kind of bat at. So this time it was trans people. 10 years ago, it was gay folks until, remember that was a big Republican thing, like no gay people, and then Dick Cheney was like, my daughter? And then people were like, yeah, and my nephew and my son, and then that kind of went away. Before that, it was interracial marriage. It'll be something else in another 10 years, but the only thing you can count on, even though we don't know what marginalized group that will be, we just know that they will be a distinct minority.
That's so interesting that you say that, because Harvard had a where is this? Harvard had a study, and it's called the Predator Study, and it's the idea that trans people.
About the movie?
No, that's a great movie though. A lot of people on the right think that trans people, if they're allowed in the other person's bathroom,
Just like gay people.
right, will dress, some people as a predator will dress up in a female costume and go into a woman's bathroom and attack them. That is a big concern from a lot of people of assault coming from people using the bathroom thing as a loophole. And I want to be clear here, a study from Harvard confirmed that the Predator study that I'm saying is a complete myth. In fact, trans people run a higher risk of being injured and being assaulted in bathrooms than non-trans people. So where is this epidemic of this coming from? Meaning, is it just that people don't know trans people? Do they not know and they don't understand, therefore they're scared of them?
Lindsay, I want to know what you think about this. I think this is just the razor and the Halloween candy all over again.
This feels
it's
like
something
that to
that's
me.
never happened,
Right.
but it becomes this kind of Mandela effect,
Right.
urban myth, and everybody just thinks that this is just a thing that happens when it's something that's never happened. So once something becomes ingrained in the cultural psyche, I mean, I think that it's harder to remove that, and it's easier to, again, like I would say, drive people to the polls by playing on those fears of something that is an abject falsehood.
Right. And Lindsay, just before you speak, know that Dave Chappelle, who's been against this, will be the host of SNL this week, and some people have boycotted, including a non-binary cast member who's saying, "What the hell, Lauren? What's going on here?" So it is in the political culture talking points. What do you think about that?
Wait, I forgot Al's question. I don't know.
There's too much.
Yeah, I was like, which one should I respond to? Because I don't
I want to hear what you have to say about Chappelle. That's really interesting to me.
Well, I think Chappelle is he's a comedian. It's not his job to figure out how to navigate this. If we're talking about comedians of the past, like, the inappropriateness does not stop on any level, from Louis C.K. on, and even before that, Richard Pryor, like, it was wildly inappropriate. And so you're a comedian, you can tell me what the line is. Like, obviously he felt like he was being funny, but then also felt like he was listening to the community by having a friend. But I'm the person that hates when someone says, "Oh, I have a black friend." Like, you don't understand the community, you didn't try. So, there's two conversations to have, but I'm not in that space where I'm making jokes for a living on account of other people. So I don't know, what
would you still do the show if you were with Chappelle? If you were on SNL, would you still do the show?
Would I still work for?
If Chappelle was on there as a cast member, would you stay?
Well, I believe that there's a benefit in talking to people. Mm-hmm. I believe there's a benefit in having the conversation. So I would actually ask Lauren Michaels to set up a conversation between me and Chappelle prior to the show. Because I like to have conversations rather than just avoid things.
And engage. I also want to say, when he said I'm Team Turf in his stand-up, that was the one moment where I was like, oh, you took a stand instead of just talking about it. But love to know what you guys think. Coming up on DBL, the New York Post changes its tune on Donald Trump. That's right. They turned him into Humpty Dumpty.
Wow.
Will this impact his 2024 run? I bet he's throwing some ketchup at a wall.
No. There's going to be a lot of internet chatter. That's where the red flag goes up.
We are never going to agree on this. It's ignorant, and for me, it was just like a damn shame.
Tell me I need to do something, I'm going to do the exact opposite.
You know why I don't call in sick? Camera hog.
Jacket for Jeff tomorrow.
Okay. Too much going on.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
I think there's just
Are we
too
on?
much.
I just want to let everybody know
Yeah.
that a moment in TV history had just happened. Dre just asked to borrow my members only jacket for tomorrow. I made it.
Should we tell them and tease it?
I get, yeah.
We're having an 80s show tomorrow, and we're all dressing as 80s.
I like how you act like that. It's like we're going to tease something that happened 40 years ago. Yeah.
I'm so excited!
I still want to know why the 80s are so much more popular than the 70s. People have 80s parties. People do not have 70s parties.
I thought they do. A disco. Erica Cobb just had one.
But in terms of ratio, in terms of like when you see at a bar 80s night or 70s night.
Depends when we're talking about. That 70s show was a bit. The 70s used to be super popular.
Oh, so you're saying the 70s show was big in the early 2000s?
Also, can I add, 70s furniture is back and in with Avengers. If you notice, like all the rounded edges, and they're all over CB2, and like so, 70s is fully back. And then Stranger Things brought that back.
20-year cycles.
But the 70s.
Whatever was popular
do.
20
Could you
years
see
ago
me
was
fuddling
popular
with it?
again, and then 40 years ago was popular again. It tends to be that.
I would argue that the 70s clothing is not
palatable to real life.
80s is not palatable.
80s you could throw. 70 you can wear the big collar with the bell bottoms
That's
onesie.
in right now.
Yeah, they are. Also, vintage means
But, like,
20
with the
years in
lycra
French.
onesie?
Vintage, 20 years.
70s was very popular in the 90s.
To them rather than
Okay. I like the music of the 70s. That's why I'm like,
I was just looking at like the Biden advice, like comparative things, and like I literally just bought a denim suit. That is like a high-waisted pantsuit with like a lower belt to the side, kind of a moment, and a deeper vest. So it's like it's just what's happening right now. It's the color.
30 back. We have 3.5 in this segment. 3.
Welcome back. So the right-wing tabloid, the New York Post, has turned on former President Donald Trump. So check out their cover today. Not great. Branding him as Trumpty Dumpty. They even made fun of him unable to build his famous wall. It's a good callback.
Is New York Post considered a tabloid for real?
I thought that too.
I thought that was a little bit intense to call them a tabloid.
That's fair. Maybe they're on the border. They're on the border.
Yeah.
They're on the border. But they were certainly right wing. They certainly are right wing. So how did Trump take the midterm election results where many of the candidates he backed failed? Here's what one person claimed on CNN.
Privately, according to multiple people I talked to, he was very angry. The focal point of his anger was the Oz race in particular, because that was not a natural fit for him, and he was convinced to do it. And of course, he never takes responsibility for any of his own decisions. It's always that some staffer tricked him.
So there are also reports that Trump is blaming Sean Hannity for the losses. And of course, the big one I saw last night on my feed was his own wife he's blaming, Melania, for convincing him to back Dr. Oz. Now, Trump has said, no laughter, he has a major announcement next week, November 15th. We were all waiting this. Many people expected it to be his announcement that he's running for president in 2024, although we can't be certain. Now, some people are suggesting he should delay that announcement. What do we think of the right turning on Trump, and do you think he'll announce next week? Yes or no? I so want to get your two opinions on this. Does anyone want to go first? I have a strong opinion on what's going to happen.
Sounds like you want to go first.
Yeah, go ahead, take it away. Or I should go last. I don't know.
Go ahead.
I think that he is not private. Like, he went on Truth Social and somebody screenshotted it. I saw it on Instagram, and he counted and tallied up the votes that he got in Florida versus DeSantis and was joking on him about that. It was kind of like he's going to come kicking and screaming. That's what I got. I think he's definitely going to announce that he's going to run. But I also am really happy that the Republican Party is moving away from President Trump. Like I was saying, Tuesday this week, this is the first national election, so we can always talk about, since the 2020
debacle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we can talk about what all the polls say, we can talk about what everyone else says, and what the temperature of the country is, but people, normal people, again, I'll keep reiterating that, go out and vote and decide, okay, I need somebody sane to be representing me. And so I think that's what we're starting to see, the tides turn, and thank God, because we were just assuming, like, I can't believe 70 million people still voted for Trump and all this stuff, but like, some of those 70 million people are like, listen, I want just a sane person to lead me moving forward.
Totally hear that.
I'm happy about that.
And you think Donald Trump, yes, will announce he will be running?
Yeah, I think that ego is not going to back down. I think the fact that his candidates did so well in the primaries and then they lost the actual election, I think that he's tight about that, and I think he's going to move forward with. But
I think that's why he should delay, because he's got the stink on him right now, and American news cycle moves in 24-hour cycles. Give it 2 weeks and maybe he can come back. But I always look at everything in sports terms. But even if a coach has had success every 7, 8, 9 years, they just bring in a new guy, new person, because there needs to be a new voice in the locker room. And I think that's where we are with the Republicans. I think his message, we kind of get the shtick, we get the message, and you see like his normal landing places, Sean Hannity, the New York Post are turning on him because everybody's ready for a new voice. Trump is associated with January 6th. That's not great for the party. They want to distance themselves from people screaming and breaking windows, and you can't do that if the guy that might have, air quotes, orchestrated that is still there. So I just think it's time for a new voice in the locker room, and I think they're looking at DeSantis like, get your helmet, kid. You're in the game, bro.
Get in the game. Mm-hmm. I have a theory. Mary Trump said it, his niece, that he won't do anything he knows he will lose. So I think he will not be running. Definitely don't think he'll be running. We'll be right back.
It's flu season, and we want to make sure you have the info you need to stay safe. So we're answering viewer questions about the flu and flu vaccine. Like this one from Paula, who wants to know if this year's flu shot contains mercury. So Paula, let's verify. We reached out to the FDA, CDC, and Dr. Claire Rock, Associate Professor of Infectious Diseases and Epidemiology at Johns Hopkins. Rock told Verify that there is no mercury in most flu vaccines in the U.S.
And so there is a mercury derivative that's in tiny, tiny, minute portions in multi-dose vials to act as a preservative and basically prevent against any bacteria or germs growing inside the vial.
Thimerosal, which contains ethyl mercury, is the mercury derivative that Dr. Rock is referring to. It's not the same type of mercury that causes mercury poisoning. The CDC says ethyl mercury is safe to use in vaccines and confirmed that it's only used in multi-dose vials. But according to the FDA and CDC, most of the flu vaccines in the U.S. are single dose. A spokesperson for the CDC told Verify that 93% of flu shots this season will be thimerosal free or thimerosal reduced. So we can verify most flu shots do not contain thimerosal, an ethyl mercury-based preservative. Verify read through many studies conducted by the FDA and CDC and found no evidence of harm caused by low doses of thimerosal in vaccines. With your Verify, I'm Ariande Till.
This November, escape the cold with the luxury included vacation to Sandals Resort's newest location, Sandals Royal Curacao, where amazing comes together. Watch DBL every day for a word of the day. Then enter at dailyblastlive.com/sandals for your chance to win a 4-day, 3-night escape for 2 to beautiful Curacao. The winner will be announced on DBL November 23rd.
Welcome back to DBL. His self-titled sitcom made his name part of TV history. Now George Lopez is back with a new show, playing a different character with the same last name. He joined us earlier to tell us all about Lopez versus Lopez. Check it out. Hi, George. Welcome to DBL. It's so good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
We're doing well. Now we're better that you're here. I wanted to ask you, how is Lopez versus Lopez different from the George Lopez show?
We can afford the lights, Dad. I leave them on in case Chance wakes up and has to use the bathroom.
You're a young couple, okay? You don't know when you're gonna need that money, so both of you need to train Chance how to see in the dark.
You know, I believe that the George Lopez show was more about my childhood, and this is more about me being lecherous and a bit, you know, of an infidel and a bit separated from my child. You know, all of the things that I saw growing up, I didn't think I would have all tightly wrapped up into my own life.
Yeah, it follows you. Absolutely.
It follows you.
I mean, well, you know, one thing that we can say about the show is it has film and TV legends. Obviously, Rita Moreno, Cheech Marin, both play characters in your new show. Now, we want to know, who have you spent more time with in real life? Who do you got those real life work hours with?
Let's see, you know, Carlos Santana and I text, and then I go see him in Vegas all the time. I play golf with Anthony Anderson and Don Cheadle, I think Cedric, those guys.
Right. I think we call that a win in your books.
Yeah, that's manifestation.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Okay, so you play the father of your real life daughter. So how was she involved behind the scenes? And did she have to audition?
She didn't have to audition, but, you know, the way that this show came about was on TikTok, where a kid had taken me to task, you know, for getting divorced and the kidney transplant, and then Mayan responded by saying, you know, we got the bag, and then twerking upside down, and then all of it was like, you know, all of the mud got on me. It's like when a car peels out and somebody has no mud on them, and all of that stuff came to me. So my friends, you know, Anthony was like, yo, man, you see that TikTok that Mayan put up? I'm like, yeah. And, you know, I could not tell Mayan to not deal with her trauma on social media, because that's how kids these days deal with their trauma. But listen, the Beverly Hillbillies opened with Jed Clampett shooting, hitting nothing, and striking oil. So if that's the way we're going to strike oil, I'll take it.
That's good.
I love it. George, I mean, you continue to be the hardest working man in the show business. You have a new children's book. Now, I want to know, what can we learn from your new children's book, Chupa Carter?
As long as you have imagination in your heart and you set goals for yourself, that no matter where you come from, even if you have everything, that doesn't make your life better. But regardless of where you come from, you can live a life that you're proud of living, and you can set an example for yourself that was even higher than the example that you originally set for yourself.
Yeah. Now, you also talked about paranormal activity and ghosts on your podcast. So when's the last time you experienced something like this?
There always been a little bit of activity in my house. I'll show you a picture that came up.
No, please do.
And I would hear footsteps, I would hear noises, and whoever was in the house before was dealing with some paranormal stuff. And the idea that I would be sitting on my bed and that a head would appear. I may actually talk to more people in the paranormal world than I do in real life.
Really?
I feel like we have another show here. Ghost hunting show. I would watch that in 10 seconds because I mean.
Okay, so TikTok has an app, a paranormal app. This thing that appears in the beginning of the app is not my finger, and it's not. This is not my finger.
Oh.
That's the paranormal, and then it disappears.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
I was sitting on my bed, that thing there, and it disappears. That is not my finger.
Oh, no.
George, you have scared us.
and you know, somebody said to me, "Aren't you afraid?" Yes, I am.
Yes, I am. 100%.
I'm not even
not even joking. Thank you so much, George. DBL Nation, catch the premiere of Lopez versus Lopez on NBC.
On the show, brother.
We'll be right back. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Today's Sandals word of the day is lotion. Enter at dailyblastlive.com/sandals for your chance to win a 4-day, 3-night escape for 2 to beautiful Curacao.
That brings us to a claim by Carol Harris. She said, "We need a good freeze to kill all these germs." So is it true a freeze or even just cold weather can kill viruses like COVID and the flu? To verify our sources are a research study published in the medical journal PLOS Pathogens and Dr. Chris Uhl, an infectious diseases physician for Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist. They conclude the claim is false.
Respiratory viruses in particular, they transmit differently because where do they live? They live inside people and they thrive inside people, and they transmit from person to person, particularly when we're indoors. So actually, particularly respiratory tract infections go up when it's colder and in the wintertime. And with COVID right now, we're seeing that. The Delta wave has moved up to the northern part of the U.S. And they're having the problem now.
It's the same reason the flu typically peaks in wintertime. In a 2007 research study, scientists used guinea pigs to monitor how they spread respiratory viruses in different temperatures and relative humidity. They found flu spreads much more easily at dry, cold temperatures than warm temperatures with high humidity. One theory is because cool, dry air loosens up the nasal mucus and makes it easier for viral particles to get into the respiratory tract. But this left a big question. Why then do warm and humid climates like that of Florida still have flu seasons? The researchers suggest in these tropical regions, viruses spread more commonly through contact with surfaces rather than through the air. Also, people spend more time indoors to escape the heat. And as Dr. Uhl said, it's easier for respiratory viruses to spread indoors. In conclusion, we verify no, a cold freeze does not kill viruses. In fact, it does the opposite, facilitating its spread.
Time now to connect the dots when we make the news make sense. Every year it feels like there's something trying to ruin our holidays. It's either pandemic, supply chain issues, now inflation. And now there's a new reason why your Thanksgiving dinner table might not be as full as it used to be.
Recent food shortages could impact your Thanksgiving feast again this year. Let's connect the dots. In 2021, it was hard to find certain size turkeys, especially smaller ones. Well, now, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the country's turkey production is expected to be down for a third straight year, dropping more than 480 million pounds since 2019. What's causing the shortages? First off, bird flu. It's killed nearly 6.5 million birds in the last 6 months alone. Despite farmers' efforts to increase sanitation, the USDA says 2.5% of the U.S. flock has been lost. Inflation also a big problem for farmers. The cost of corn, soybeans, and even diesel spiked 18%. The steep increase is making turkey farming difficult. If you do find that perfect bird for your table, expect to pay more. Prices up more than 17%. And the shortages expected to last until early 2023. And that is Connecting the Dots.
Welcome back to DBL. It's Thursday, so that means it's time for some amazing products from Morning Save. Sweet, sweet deals. Check them out. Steph, what do you have for us today?
First up, we've got the Brilliant Diamonds 110 carat TW Diamond Halo cushion earrings or necklace. So this deal includes one pair of earrings in a gift box or one necklace, and they are set in sterling silver, and each cushion-shaped piece is centered with a square diamond cluster surrounded by a diamond halo.
Love that.
So normally this is $199 for the earrings and $149 for the necklace, but we've got it for $39.99 for the earrings or $39.99 for the necklace, which is saving up to 80%. Now we've got the Martino by Martino Cartier cordless flat iron. So this deal includes one straightener, and it comes with this really snazzy USB cord and wall adapter. Normally it's $249.
Whoa.
But we've got it for $29.99, so it's saving 88%. Now we've got the candle warmers, etc. fan fragrance warmer with 3 wax melt sets.
Oh wow.
So this deal includes one warmer that's available in 2 different styles. We've got green filigree and geometric.
Nice.
And the deal also includes 3 different wax sets like these here. Normally this is $45, but we've got it for $14.99 for a warmer and a 3 wax melt set. So that's saving 67%. And then last but certainly not least, we've got Cuisinart 5-piece ceramic coated colour knife set with blade guards. So the deal includes a chef's knife, a slicing knife, a Santoku knife, a utility knife and a paring knife, and each knife comes with a matching blade guard, and normally they are $40. Now the best bit, Tori, is we've got them for $17.99, so it's saving you 55%.
Guys, head on over to morningsave.com to snag these amazing deals at the lowest prices, or you can even scan the QR code. It's right on your screen, and it'll take you directly to these products on Morning Save's website. Again, thank you so much, Steph. Stick Park.
Okay.
DBL, that was
and I saw you, and I was just going to let it happen, because I was like, well, she definitely knows that we're about to be on in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And you were just talking to Jeray, just having at it. So
I'm so sorry.
Tell the people what were you saying.
We were talking about wearing shirts, and I said I don't own a green plain shirt. Who owns a green plain shirt?
You can tuck that into some pants and call
I have a Jurassic Park shirt like a human being. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.